Week 9 is in the books, so let's get into it. We got 5 moves to make heading into Week 10. Number 1, go out and add Keaton Mitchell. Now, it felt like Keaton Mitchell may not or wasn't going to be a thing, right? He came back, did not touch the ball when he got activated off of IR, then went back to being a healthy scratch, and now finally earned his first touches in the NFL. And what we saw was spectacular. He is a piece this offense looks like they have been missing in the backfield. He is doing what I think a lot of us, myself included, expected J.K. Dobbins to do. He had 10 touches, 9 carries for over 130 yards. He looked fantastic. The speed, the vision, everything you wanted from Keaton Mitchell, he showcased it. And I don't think we're going back to a scenario now where he is not somewhat involved in the game plan, at least, right? We've talked about him for a couple of weeks, especially over on Twitter. We talked about him excessively, but he's available still in 45% of leagues. That needs to skyrocket. He is going to be, I think, a larger part of this offense moving forward and needs to be rostered in Dynasty. Moving on to number 2, this is not something I thought I would ever say, but here we are. If you roster Taysom Hill, which 82% of people do, he needs to be started in every single league. Unless you have like the, Travis Kelce's, Mark Andrews of the world, Taysom Hill has to now be in your lineups. There's no way around it. 4 straight top 6 finishes, back-to-back 20-point games. He has 19 targets and 26 carries in the last month. That's to also go with passing volume, right? He threw a passing touchdown today. Taysom Hill, the gadget player that will not die, has fully cemented himself in this offense. Like, he has become a vital part of this offense every single week. If you roster him, he needs to be started. If he's available in leagues, which he still is in almost 20%, he needs to be added and then started. That is how bad the tight end position is, and Taysom Hill has shown for a month now we can trust him. Before we get to move number 3, guys, as always, there is an extension, right? There are 7 moves to make if you are a YouTube member here at DLF. So check out the bonus content here on the YouTube membership. You're going to get an extension of 5 moves to make every single week. You're also going to get an additional video that we do not release to the general public as well. So check that out, guys. If you want more content, you want to support myself and Addison, check out the bonus content tier for the DLF YouTube channel. Now, getting back to the video here, move number 3. If you are not contending, and I mean a legitimate contender, you know what I'm talking about. If you are not at that stage, you need to start selling the rental running backs, right? I'm talking Darrell Henderson, Chuba Hubbard, Gus Edwards, Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, that whole batch of players, basically. Guys that we do not anticipate being starters next season, at least without injuries. The rental running backs are going to have value to those contending rosters. It's always good to have depth. It is good to have, I think talented players to some extent. But if you're not contending, this is why you roster a bunch of handcuff running backs. That's why we say if you're not a contender, grab every handcuff you can and then flip them when their starter inevitably goes down. That is the whole point of this, right? You can build a little bit more sustainable value if you trade these guys for seconds. So keep that in mind and look at all of your rosters. If these guys are just sitting on your bench, you're not trying to compete, try to move them off for something with, again, a 20-24 second being the target value. Now, on the flip side of this is move number 4. If you are a contender, you should be, call it bargain hunting on veterans, not necessarily running backs, because, again, I'm not in love with trading for 1-year rentals, but bargain hunting on talented wide receivers. There are a ton of wide receivers out there that people just don't really value up to what they provide in terms of fantasy. Think the receivers you probably always get offered in the offseason. Amari Cooper, Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin. Keenan Allen is probably, I think, elevated out of that range right now because of what he's doing on the field. But the rest of those guys are good trade targets for veteran teams. They're not going to disappear next year, but they're also undervalued if they're on a non-competitive team because they are just looking to offload these guys. They know those players are not going to help them this year, and they're going to likely lose value next season just because they're getting older. So if I'm a contending roster looking for flex plays, looking for depth, those are the types of guys I'd love to target. And to close us out, guys, move number 5. I'm bringing this back again because I'm going to keep mentioning it. Go out and buy JSN. He has not been spectacular, right? He has not been Jordan Addison or Puka Nacua or Zay Flowers most of the season. but JSN is starting to round into shape here, right? He's averaging over 50 yards per game since the bye week. That's a pace for just under 900 yards. So he is picking it up. He is avoiding bust territory, and I think now it's just a matter of Tyler Lockett moving on, or maybe they move DK Metcalf, which feels, and I mean, that's not happening, but one of the big two needs to kind of move out of the way, and then they can redistribute the targets to the two remaining wide receivers, which ideally should be JSN long-term. So that's why we're buying. We're still giving up a late first for him. I'm not going to pivot off of that first and a second. Love that just as much as well. That's about the value still for JSN. Do not give up a high pick for him at this point because the value is depressed from when we drafted him in April and when the season started. So there's no reason to pay, preseason prices. I think that just doesn't make any sense. All right, guys, that is all we have for you. Again, if you want more content, just in general, an extra video every week, an extension of 5 moves to make, check out the DLF YouTube membership underneath that bonus content tier. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.